And with that, we now move to Philadelphia and Toronto. This is fun. This is a mess, but it's also fun.
Is it fun? I don't know if this is gonna be fun. How much smoke do you have for Doc Rivers?
But how is that the opening question of the series?
I'm very excited to see this series. I'm not very excited to talk about it.
Wow. How do I feel about that? I have minimal smoke for Doc Rivers right now.
Okay, got you.
Um,
Second question right here. I wrote it down. How much smoke do you have for James Harden?
minimal smoke for James Harden. My chief concern with him is that he's healthy. Like I hope that the week off helps the hamstring because I legitimately think like a lot of the issues that I've seen with James Harden after the initial 4 or 5 game stretch when he got to Philly is that the burst is not the same. It has came and it's gone.
Got to know your teammates, folks. My
But
third question was: is this series just does James Harden have his burst for you? You see how I did? You see how I did that, folks? It's all about play sequencing.
you are such a coach, Jesus. Um, I think that's what it comes down to be completely honest. I mean, it's not just that, but like that's top of the chalkboard for me. Because if Harden has the burst, he can get downhill easier. He can create open shots for others. He's going to take some pressure off of Joel Embiid. And in light of Matisse Thybulle just not being available for the road games, apparently, for not getting into that, the floor is going to be better spaced without Matisse Thybulle. We're going to see more Danny Green. We may see more Furkan Korkmaz. May see more Shake Milton, which not a great shooter, but at the very least, he's not going to get ignored to the degree that Matisse is. And so, again, if the Harden burst is there, we should see a greater quality of look for the rest of the team. And if Harden has more bursts, he's going to get to the line more. He's going to get to the rim more, finish more effectively, be able to explode a little bit more at the rim than we've been able to see because he has been ground bound on a lot of his drives over the last couple of weeks.
I did it again, folks. My next question was: does Tyball's ability as a screener do anything for you in this series? I'm telling you, get your plays down, put it on the card, and look and see how the defense is reacting. You'll lead them right to the water.
It's it's almost like we've been doing this pod for over a year. It's crazy. I think there are some good things that could come from that. Um, actually, let me take a step back. I'm honestly a little bit more not concerned, but I'm less enthused about the Matisse screens in this series because Toronto is as rangy as they are. And to your point from the last pod, like if they are just gonna switch a bunch, then yeah, the slip might be there, but like I'm not terrified of Matisse as a roller in that case.
I got you, but I only asked because you are king of the best way to beat a switch is to slip. So I figured I would
Is that
figure
what
out
I
what you would
sound
say.
like?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what I hear. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I got to be a little bit more enthused then. I'm sorry. I did not mean to disappoint. That is wild. It really be your own people on the podcast. You know, you try to you try to have fun with basketball. You know, you just like, hey, here's switch, here's the slip, best way to beat it, etc. It's catchy, it's a stink. You know, people are catching on. We're all learning together. And here's my co-host, just mocking me. What a time! What a time! It's fine. I'm just gonna go JBJ. It's gonna be JBG now. It's cool. It's gonna hate everything. It's gonna be a soft switch ran every pod now. It's fine. Why don't they change the rule? 3 switches per possession. After that, you got to man up. There we go. Maybe that's the energy I should come with.
Oh, the hashtag is big mad, folks. This couldn't gone any better so far. Okay, now that makes sense. I throw it out there just because I saw it a couple times. Here's the interesting part with James Harden in this series.
Mhm.
A lot of it to me depends on what Toronto does and when they do it. So a lot of these matchups, especially recently, no Fred VanVleet,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of changes the math a little bit. I don't know if wouldn't say they're unafraid to switch, but that may be a little bit a different of a matchup. Whereas later in that last time these two teams played, it looks like James Harden was looking for pick and roll, and it was like, wait, who do I attack? They started these games against Philadelphia with Kim Birch in a drop, and then they adjusted towards the switching as the game kind of went on. It seems like their overall mindset is, all right, Scotty Barnes is going to pressure you, and then we're just going to try and wear you out over the course of the game. Because in both of these games, Philadelphia started out well. The issue is how they finished. And the interesting part with Harden is, I'm sure the burst is going to be a question. It's playoff time, so all sorts of things are going to come flying left and right. He's still a guy who generates a ton of help.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Toronto team that will send help. So even if they were switching, they're still sending help and trying to force the drive a certain way. So the kicks are going to be there. So there's a weird balance of the moments of concern where, okay, they're switching. Now the offense is bogged down. Can he get by one-on-one? Can he draw a foul? Versus, oh, now he's kicking and Philly's hitting these shots. Which one is it going to be? Like I feel like it's a interesting dynamic because it's all just going to come down to late game stuff, anyways. with how he's viewed in this series, fair or unfair. Where do you rank the coverages you want to see from the Raptors in this one?
Like I think I am very intrigued by the switching. Again, like I do have an eye on like, okay, what is the Harden and Embiid combo going to look like against these switches? Like, how is Harden going to look in isolation up top? And again, that goes back to the burst question. And from there, like, I think we all know that Embiid is very much good enough and dominant enough to beat switches. But as you mentioned, like, even if Toronto switches, like, they're going to send help. And there hasn't been a team in the league that has been able to fluster Joel Embiid with help coming from a myriad of places than the Raptors have been over the last couple of years. And so I'm just intrigued by how the switches are going to be navigated on both sides. So I guess I go there first. I don't know how I feel about dropping the series for Toronto. How much zone do you think we get from Toronto in this series?
I think it's coming.
Do you think? Because like my initial thought, and again, I'm literally thinking through this live, but my initial thought is like maybe without Matisse, you don't see the zone that much, or you see less of the zone now. Because I think what made the zone super effective for Toronto when they went to it is because, okay, you're going to slow them down. You're going to force them to make good entry passes. But also, we also just have a guy we can ignore for the most part. So we can overload a side even more now. And without Matisse, like I think it has to be more of, I guess there's no such thing as a traditional zone with Nick Nurse, but I think you get what I mean. Like I think they have to be a little bit more solid in that regard with a spacer out there instead of Matisse. So that's where I'm just kind of like maybe we see less zone than we think. But where are you on that?
I think the zone will be more of a weapon that's used as opposed to just purely. I think it'll be more of like a let's try and get them out of rhythm here real quick, as opposed to this is something we really want to do.
I got you.
It's gonna be, as far as drop goes, I think it's interesting because I think we'll see it. I don't know how long we'll see it with Harden and Embiid, but I think we'll see it. I think the Raptors will adjust. The person I know we'll see it against is Tyrese Maxey. I have a feeling we'll see it. And that's why I think he's so important in this series. He's going to have to make some plays. And that's going to elevate the Harden and Embiid pick and roll. That's going to elevate the ISOs, elevate the mismatch hunting, elevate the post-ups. If he's going at that level, and if they decide to defend him like that, or he becomes someone they have to think about, that changes things. Now, how they cover is going to make it interesting for a Tobias Harris, who has kind of grown into this role of playing off of what defenses do and getting a kick, making a decision. But if they're switching, it's not as much of that. So I'm interested to see if Maxey can get going, if that opens things up for Tobias that way, or if Tobias can have to live off the Embiid fronts, the Embiid doubles, that type of deal.
I got you. I am a little bit concerned about Tobias because of that point. I think the big thing for me with Tobias is how decisive he is when he does catch the ball. Is he immediately firing? Is he immediately driving? Or is he trying to hold it and survey? And I think with Toronto switching a little bit more, there are going to be less obvious gaps for him to attack. And I wonder how that short circuits, like just the processing from him in that regard. Like he could really swing things for Philadelphia in the series. So I think, like, again, in theory, like the Sixers are going to have the best player in the series. And from there, I'm not 100% sure. If the burst is back for Harden, I think he's number 2. If it's not, it's probably Pascal Siakam. And then from there, we just kind of go down the line of guys. I think they're going to need Tobias to provide some, especially when they go to the bench. If it's going to be the Harden and Harris second unit, they're going to need Harris to hold up his end of the bargain. If Toronto's going to continue to switch, if Tobias does get smaller guys on him, he's going to have to go quick and bully them. Get to his spots, knock down jumpers, or get to the line. Because I don't think he can't afford to hold it against a team that is as rangy as Toronto is, that swarms the way that they do. Because with Toronto being as aggressive as they are, like, there are going to be pockets to attack if they do send help. But if you allow them to take you out of your initial action, rotate super aggressively, and then get back, and then be able to set up and load up if they feel like you do have a mismatch somewhere, that's a tough spot for Philadelphia to be in. And if you're taking bad shots and getting misses and Toronto's able to get out in transition, like, that's exactly what they want to do to begin with.
No, yeah, and that's going to be the interesting point, because I had this question down as well, destroying this, folks. Who is shot making more important to in this one, Toronto or Philly?
I think it's still Toronto, because as great as Pascal is, like, he doesn't draw, and he does draw doubles. So I'm not going to say he doesn't draw doubles, but, like, he doesn't draw attention to the degree that Embiid does. And then beyond him, who else draws to for this Toronto team?
Like, it'd have to be a matchup based if Maxey's in the post or something like that. But that's an interesting question. The main reason I ask is because Toronto needs that, it feels like, to sustain. So when they do force help, they need those shots to go down. For Philadelphia, the interesting point to me is, even as, late game struggles have been pointed out, switching issues have been pointing out, they've had a lot of quality possessions of ball movement and generating shots, and that to me is important. What they can't do is bog down and go solely just for the ISO. But that's the thing about this series. Even if the Toronto pick gets more popular, they have the 2 pressure points. It's going to be how they use them, what that opens up, and can they make Toronto pay? Because as much switching as Toronto has done, they're still willing to overhelp at times, or at least show help. So you're going to have the ability to get them in rotation. You just have to make sure you knock them down and keep doing it. Even this last game against Toronto, they were jumped out, a 17-0 run early, but then they kind of got away from what got them that. And so they're going to have to find the blend. Like, for me, it's like, okay, that they're going to front Embiid, go back to having 4 guys out and 1 in, and see if you can get them a seal. And now see what Toronto does to that. Can they? That's the tricky part about this Philly team. We see the ceiling potentially, but they don't know each other well enough to hit all the right notes. So they're kind of learning on the fly. So you'll see the switch where James like, nah, I got it. Okay. You do. But does that flip to, no, Joel's got it? And now how does the defense respond? So I'm interested in seeing that. Toronto's going to be fun. Do the Sixers have an answer for Pascal Siakam?
Uh, not a great one. Like I think their best answer, funny enough, like I want to see Embiid on Pascal.
I am so proud of myself. The next question on this piece of paper: do you want to see Embiid on Siakam? This is a masterpiece, folks.
It's a quality. It's almost like we've been doing the pod together for like over a year. This is some wild stuff. Wow. This is to peel the curtain back. Like, this is not something that we discussed before. Like, I gave the general rundown, like, hey, these are the series that we're going to talk about in what order, with like some very basic season series. These are the score of the games notes. Everything else we got to do individually. So it's actually hilarious that we got here on Sixers Raptors. Good stuff.
KYP, know your personnel, folks.
It's quality stuff. But yeah, like I want to see Embiid take the Siakam matchup sometimes. Especially in light of the way that Pascal has lived in that like 6 to 10 foot range with the spins, with the push shots, with the floaters. I don't think like I wouldn't worry about Embiid defending a bunch of threes in terms of defending Pascal Siakam. Like I think he can mirror him well enough and force him to shoot over the top.
Yeah, I know we'll see it in the fourth. I wonder if we see it earlier than we had before.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a couple concerns mentally is A, foul trouble. I know, just saying it out loud. And then secondly, you kind of want like a lot of people say, hey, well, why isn't this person guarding this person? Sometimes you want your best matchup to kind of be like the big boss. Like, yeah, I know we have Embiid, we can throw at Siakam. But if Tobias can work for these 10, 12 minutes and it's actually working, then we don't have to go there.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes that gets lost conceptually. Like, yeah, if we throw Embiid out there right to start and it doesn't go well, what do we go with afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that aspect gets lost, but it's that time of the year. Playoff adjustment Twitter is going to have a ball, and I certainly can wait for that. So it'll be interesting to see how they dole it out when they dole it out. I know Embiid will stay on the floor more, but just Pascal is just so important, especially watching him play this team. His bucket getting, like it's a different level of, hey, I got the pull up going. Hey, I'm attacking in transition. Hey, I'm also getting by you. Hey, I can also hit this three real quick. And what he does just balances so much of what they need out offensively. And then late game, you can put Tyrese Maxey in action and now see what the defense does, those kind of things. So I think Siakam is just going to be such a big key. Philadelphia has to find a way to not let him get all of it. Like, hey, you're either hitting these pull-ups or you're hitting contested layups, but you can't lead the dance this series.
I was gonna make an ethical buckets joke. I was gonna leave that by the wayside.
Nah, ethical hoops still moving. No one's ruined it yet. I'm enjoying it while I can because it's coming. The wrong person's gonna say it. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm all unethical now.
Oh goodness. Well, okay, not gonna make that joke on the podcast. I am actually. Can I go back to your Maxi point from earlier? Because you said you think you pinpointed him in particular as a guy that's probably going to see drop. Like, why do you feel that way?
Well, you got to consider who's probably going to be guarding him. You probably don't want to make that switch if Embiid's screening.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So it's just probably going to be easier to just keep him in a drop and then hope that he's the one that's taking the shots.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Okay, who you got in the series? This is a fun one.
I'm doing the thing again. Sixers and 7.
Okay. I think I go.
Go ahead and say it. I know you want to say 3 words.
I don't know. Are those the three? Because like I've seen these, especially the latter two matchups with them. It's like, you know what? It's gone from like I don't think Philly wants to see Toronto to like, yo, Toronto might just beat Philly. But it's also
And
like
that's where you're at. Go ahead, come on, hey, climb to the top rope, taunt,
not taunt.
hit the elbow drop.
So many wrestling references tonight. This is insane. I I go Toronto in 7. I do like the depth a little bit better. I do think they defend Embiid. They defend Embiid pretty well, and I am just check my mood on Tuesday's pod. We're gonna see how Harden looks in the opener.
Oh,
So like
okay,
that's kind of
gotcha.
that.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that's giving me the pause. Because again, like if he's healthy, like they should in theory they should have at worst 2 of the 3 best players in the series.
All right. So what that tells me is I'm just gonna type it in for next week's note section. Nikias ISO.
Not the ISO. Like I want to see how healthy Harden's going to be. It's kind of where I land on this. Like I am very ready to be wrong if he comes out looking good. Like Philly does the thing. Like I'm not going to be upset. I don't care. But like that's kind of my hesitation right now.
I got you. I think Gary Trent Jr. and Precious are the X factors for Toronto. If they can give the defense and the combination of chaotic energy they bring offensively at times,
Mm-hmm.
and those two are going, it's hard.
I get it. But more Precious pull up threes, huh? Is that on the bingo card for the series?
I don't know what he was on that last game, but he was on a mission.
He's turned into a different dude since the All-Star break, man. Well, not super different. The 3-point shooting is different. Still have some concerns about the other stuff on offense, but the shooting's coming along.